They mentioned Einstein in the book.
Yes, welcome everyone to the Mastermind Book Club. Thank you to our members who are joining us tonight. It's a wonderful pleasure to have you all here. Reggie, Martha, Gina, Charles, David, and David. Thank you very much for being here. It's an opportune time. We're going over a book. I believe this is book number 5 in the marketing, or out of 12. And this book teaches us a very important lesson. Will we cover everything out of this book? Perhaps not. I don't think that this book tells us that. It tells us specific information in regards to acquiring information. I don't know if you've got it. I don't know if you've got it, but I know I got some of it. So I'd like to open up the mic to you guys and ladies, and to hear from each and every one of you. What do you think of this book? What impacted you the most out of this book? And if you have one or two things, that's fine by me. Go ahead. Yes, Martha.
Yeah, when I cast for this book, I didn't have the chance to read the whole book, but I got briefly. The main stick is like a you stick is to stick your ideas. Is remember.
Okay.
Remember, and you can add, the people can add, and you can pass to another people the information, and it's gonna stick over and over. The stick idea, they can survive or they can die, depends on the idea. And they have 6 principal ideas for the main stick ideas. And I think they have a story about this guy called John. They have like 430 pounds. And the father was a practitioner in Indianapolis. And he told his son he had to lose weight because his health is getting down. He had a lot of health issues, high blood pressure, diabetics, and he can even fix in the room in the school because it was so heavy. And he was keeping talent. And he started taking sandwich for Subway. And I was very surprised. He started losing weight. It's supposed to be always like a fast food. And this guy started losing weight. And sometimes we had the wrong information. And he, after 3 months, having Subway sandwich, he lost 100 pounds. And he believed that this Subway sandwich survived his life. And it is a love story and a very powerful story for a lot of people. And you can lose weight in different ways, and either having fast food.
Yes.
And they have a lot of 6 principles, but I give it to somebody: simplicity, unexpectedness, and creativity. The 6 ideas, is 6 principles, the sticker ideas.
Yes, that's correct.
It's a great book.
It's a very powerful book, and you hit on one of the main stories. However, it was used as a marketing tool. That's the bottom line. In other words, they never revealed exactly what the person did. They never revealed it. I mean, we don't know if he had 10 sandwiches a day or 1 sandwich a day, or if he just really had salads, or if he ordered a sandwich and he never ate the full bread. We don't know many details. We don't know them. And we are left with that marketing piece that sticks to most of us. And it's that he lost 300 pounds, right? Yeah. I have a member that many of you know who lost 300 pounds. Let me see if I have her picture here in my background, which I think I do. There she is. Oh my God. I don't know if you can see that picture right now, but she lost, let me just, see me, I just took myself out of the, you see her picture there? I think Reg,
yeah, I see it.
Charles,
Who's that?
Gina know her. That, she is Alicia McCoy. Alicia McCoy, you can see the pants. This is because of my strategies. And when I gave her the strategies, it took her 3 months to do that. 3 months, 3 months. However, at the 3 months time, she decided to jump in and pay for somebody else. And, you know, we've kept in contact. She's going to get married in June. However, oops, somebody here has allowed, who is it? Okay, I just muted everybody just in case, because I heard a lot of background music. But, you know, how did Alicia McCoy do it? Because she believed. That's number one. She had faith. That's no doubt. She took that leap of faith, and whatever she had done before, she had told me, oh, she's lost pounds twice, but she gains it back, and she doesn't know what to do. And I didn't respond to that. I didn't tell her, oh, because you did it wrong. Oh, because you were listening to somebody else. You weren't listening to me. But the reality is that sometimes we do things our way, and that's it. We just do it our way. I didn't need to tell her which way she did it. I just needed to show her the path that she needed to take, the psychology behind it, and the will to persist. Now, I have not been a permanent seller of health products, just like what Martha said. Why? Because I haven't found how to market myself properly. And as Martha was describing herself in reference to that story that she heard, which I heard, and I guess Reggie and Charles and Gina as well listened to, it's a powerful story, but we don't know the details behind it. And that's the trick about this, is that this Subway exists, and you think of it as a fast food place. However, they have a healthy variety that can be combined in a way that you can lose weight. That's a fact. I don't know about the bread, because I don't know. I don't think
The
the
bread is not even considered bread. They said it has too much sugar content.
Exactly. I don't think
that
the bread counted in there. I haven't really researched it, but Reggie and I are in agreement, and I'm sure Gina would be in agreement as well. Probably Martha and Charles, that I don't think he had bread every single day, because he would have, number one, inflammation and arthritis would take over him. And number two is he'd never lose the weight.
Also, he would have taken in too much sugar, and it would have just become stored fat.
And they probably bought his story to cater to their marketing advertisements. And that's just the reality. Now people believe they can lose weight eating bread and salads with cheese. Nonsense.
Exactly.
That's the reality. It's not far
Propaganda.
from it. Yes. Yeah. Reg, you want to say anything in reference to this book?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot to say, but one or two things.
There's a lot to
great.
say. This thing is powerful, and what happens here is when you are able to tap into people's emotions and tap into people's the desires of an individual, whatever, you can basically appeal to them in so many ways. So with this information at people's disposal who are out here doing the different marketing, in terms of if you had a business or some of these big corporations, as we just touched on, Subway using this story, that it has the appeal, to get to people such that they're going to be moved in a way such that they're going to, necessarily in this case, go and buy their sandwiches, even though, as you just spoke to, who knows what really went down with that, and
yes.
Subway is really a sandwich place. Of course, like you mentioned, there are other things that people could have bought, and the guy could have bought this John individual who lost the 300 pounds, 100 in a month. But obviously, Subway doesn't have to go into all that. They just kind of give you a little bit of a concrete story, even if it's fabricated. And that's enough to get to people. It's enough to get people to move, to act on that information or whatever. And that's the whole design by this, is to see how you can affect people with a certain message in a certain way, giving them some feel of emotion, some feel of, I experienced that before. Because what happens here is, if you don't tap into people, the individual, such that it's really affecting the individual, the message is lost. The message that doesn't have the effect that it's meant to have. So the idea and the grab to pull at the heartstring talked about versus abstract for the individual. So I really like, not to say like that, I just like those aspects, because ultimately it could go either way, whereas you can have a message, put something out that your goal could be to to do something just like sell sandwiches, books, cars, whatever. And it could just be a marketing ploy, and it could just be like, you know, how many more creature comforts can we get this person to buy? You know, it's, for me, I don't think it's just about buying stuff and being a consumer. But on the other hand, if you really have good intention, and hopefully this is the case, you can also use that, some of those same practices to affect and make people change and do things that are more beneficial and positive to them. Such, for example, they touched upon, you know, there was a commercial that came out. I don't remember all the exact details, flying through it, but it was a whole campaign about trying to get the kids the teens to stop smoking. And they had to show a visual where it was like the car or the truck that stopped, the individuals popped out, and then they like unloaded a bunch of body bags, and they were showing them, like, if you smoke, you know, look at what this is. Like, so many thousands or whatever people die from smoking every day. So for someone, that might really have an effect where they go, oh, wow, to see the visual. So you're giving them something concrete, because a lot of it is like, if you don't give them concrete, you know, you can forget about it. You lose people in saying just some random statistic, you know, 7 point, people don't like, some of these numbers and these things don't really resonate with people, but when they can see it, when it can become more a visual or something that really, you know, is something that is so impactful to them in that way, it makes a big difference. They also talked about that scenario where it was NBA players, and they talk about bringing NBA individuals into the new individual NBA players into the league, and how basically they give them to talk about what to do with your money, be careful, the women and all this kind of stuff, right? But for some of them, it's like, oh, you know, they still gonna go do their thing, because now you're kind of like a celebrity. Everybody knows your name. Of course, you look like a basketball player in most cases because you're 6, whatever. Then if so then there's like groupies and stuff, and they had the scenario where they bring them to it was a Terrytown for 6 days, and they do all these conversations and things, as I just spoke to. And then they had it where they had some women that were in on it, and they had them kind of meet up with them or whatever. They kind of got to talking to these women and setting up meetings to potentially get together, you know, to do who knows what. And we kind of know, leave our imagination to the side. And this was like a night drinking in a bar or whatever. And then the next morning they go to their meetings and come to find out, or come to see those same women in the meetings. And the women were all like, you know, people who had AIDS and these types of things. And it was like, maybe I'm sure for some people, like, it was like, wow, like that, you know, like I was about to go and bring her to my room and da-da-da-da-da. But like, you know, she's saying we have AIDS, and this one saying I have AIDS, and my intent is to get some man, like an NBA player, whatever, to have a baby with me or whatever. And now you start to see, okay, maybe you have a baby, but you might get AIDS, and you know, having AIDS, even though the technology is better and everything else, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to survive it. And even just saying like Magic Johnson has AIDS, if everyone knows who Magic Johnson is, arguably the best point guard ever to play the game of NBA, but he's lived all these extra years having AIDS. But, you know, because of technology and different things, he also has massive amounts of money. But anyway, so these messages could really be very impactful, and the stickiness factor is there if you're able to really get into people, you know, really get into their minds and hearts, really be able to tap them and touch them in a way such that that effect is going to happen. And then they're going to be even like, you know, that sort of thing, you know, maybe not always get them fully right away. It might get you a little bit, but certainly the thing that once you plant those seeds, especially if you can keep getting that message out, you know, down the road, you know, people will certainly start thinking more about the decisions they make, what they're eating, what they're doing. I also like the one part was like early in the book where there's a Jane Elliott. She's used to be a former educator, but she's still an educator, but she did the whole experiment with the kids with the brown eyes, the kids with the blue eyes, the kids with the brown eyes were subservient, whatever, put them in the back, whatever, they're nobodies. The kids with the blue eyes are like ahead, you know, whatever. But she started with the kids that had brown eyes. They were the ones who were the more important. They were better, this, that, and other. And the kids with the blue eyes go to the back of the class, you get nothing, whatever. And then she changed it around. And then the kids, they were saying when they were in that situation where they were put in the back or whatever, it like, you know, it hurt them and they felt less than and this, that, and the other. And it had a real effect. But at the same time, what happened later is that some of them, as they got older, you know, they had a regrouping on some show. They had some of them come on a show with her, and they were talking about how that exercise really impacted them. And now they really start to think about, and even those later years, of how, you know, wait a minute, I'm being judgmental. I'm being, you know, this certain sort of way where I'm thinking about this person less because of, in this case, maybe the color of their skin or whatever. So, you know, if you really, again, if you touch people in a way, you can have a major impact on them. again, with the idea of stickiness. So this is very powerful, and it's just a matter of which way you use it. Are you going to use it for the quote unquote good, or are you going to use it for quote unquote bad?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Whoops, my volume here went boom. uh, you're right. We always are going to have that dilemma. And the reality is that at times it's much easier to use it for so-called bad because it's much easier. Or am I wrong, Reg?
I don't know that it's easy. I think the same power and the same energy and the same focus and the same everything that you use for bad, you could turn that just the same way around and use it for quote unquote good. So I'm going to argue against that. I just think people, they turn to their dark side, and we all should be managing dark side, good side, or whatever. This is a different conversation. But, when you allow certain messages and things to proliferate and permeate your being, and you're not a standing guard against the door of your mind, as you will, as Jim Rohn would say, then all those things will get in, and they know that they'll get in, and they feed you this stuff, and it's like off to the races. So.
Yes, correct. Well, thank you, Reggie, for sharing. We really appreciate that. Very powerful message as well.
My pleasure.
Yes.
My pleasure.
Gina, Charles, anything to say in reference to this book?
Hey.
Hey, Gina.
Hey, everybody else.
All
hey,
right.
How are y'all doing tonight? Anyway.
Man.
Swell. Great.
Yeah, I hear you. So I just wanted to piggyback on what Reggie was saying. And I think this book is about, the powerful images that we gather in our mind and how they can be more effective than just say something that's kind of dull, right? And how it started off with the guy in the bathtub that was so interesting. And he woke up in ice and, said his kidney was missing. And, how things like that could be myths and they just, circle around and just because the image is so strong, they stay in our minds. So I thought this book would be kind of great too for, being a teacher, trying to capture the attention of my students. And I found that kind of fascinating.
I love it.
And yeah, and I was thinking about something when Reggie was talking about, the images, one that my father painted in our minds when we were kids, and that was, that not to smoke, right? But he didn't just tell us don't smoke. He said that creating, a bad habit is like having adopting a bad habit is like having a big heavy chain around your neck that you carry with you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Okay, so he said you would be dragging that chain with you and you won't be able to get rid of it. It would be very difficult. So he said, so in our minds as kids, we picture that, at least I know I picture that, and none of us turn out to be smokers, and especially the girls. And he would also say one of the ugliest things he ever seen, the woman with the cigarette in her slip hanging. So he used to paint those two pictures, the chain and then the, really, I don't know, on camp women with a cigarette in her mouth. And, and that was very effective, I should say, on his kids. So those pictures, painting those pictures will make a difference. And I really appreciate the book for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's the truth. What you just said there is powerful as well. I mean, when you bring it back to your students, you are selling them on a marketing piece that's very important as well. And I mean, this is education at its best. These books are teaching us the tools that we need on a daily basis. And sometimes we just forget about them, right? Charles, thank you, Gina. By the way, thank you, Gina. I appreciate that. It's always a pleasure to have you share, just as everyone else. Mr. Charles Comer.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback over what Gina said. The professor, Robert Caldini, he was a professor of sociology at Arizona State, where he was trying to, teach a scientific class, and he was searching through books, and he came across a book on Saturn, and to get the kids interested, he proposed a question to them. So that was something to catch their attention. And the question was, scientific book starts with a question. The mystery. So he threw out like a sense of mystery to bring the what would otherwise be a boring course or a boring lecture. He was like, what are the Saturn rings made of? That was the question.
Mm.
And each, you know, he wasn't really interested in Saturn, but the mystery of answering a question made him read through it, you know, to the end. And I like that. Also, piggybacking off of Red said about, I believe y'all started off with Subway.
Yes.
Believe it or not, McDonald's later on like took an interest in the same thing when they put up the calories, where
Yes.
you can actually go and eat McDonald's and lose weight
You
if you go
could
exactly by
by the book.
but yes. So
Only eat salads.
Well,
no, you could actually eat the burger. If you're on a, say, to lose weight, you need to be on a 1,000 calorie regimen.
correct.
You could go into McDonald's and pick one or two things.
I
That's
think
it.
it's
One or two.
2,000. Isn't it 2,000 calorie probably?
Well, to lose weight, this guy had he had looked to do like 1,000, 1,200.
Look,
So
the
he had a
reality is that McDonald's offers you oatmeal. The only thing you have to take out of it is the fruits, the junky fruits, and the milk, and you just add water. And that's it. But they won't cater to that because most people will not listen. That's the
right.
reality. I mean, but what they're saying, just like Charles is explaining, is that it's the marketing strategy behind
Right, to make you think it's healthy for you.
the goal of making it think as that it's healthy. And it actually can be if you limit the amount of foods you eat on a daily basis. But
Well, back
yeah,
to the little story I was telling you about
yeah, go ahead.
Professor Robert Cardini. You know, so to get the kids interested, he threw out mystery, and that's something the guy was talking about, how to pull people in. You know, making it simple, making it unexpected. And the mystery was that the Saturn rings were made of dust, which gave it its nice color. And then
Yes.
he went on to tell a story about the in 2001, the new Enclave minivan with the family of 5. You know, they just bought the car, they're driving down the street and they're enjoying the car. And you think it's a minivan commercial, where they get sideswiped by another car and the kid goes out the window, and then it comes on saying, buckle up. So that was like an unexpected, you know, unexpected thing to capture the audience. You think it was a commercial for a new minivan, but actually it was a commercial to tell you that, yeah, you know, you expect the unexpected, but, you know, buckle up was the main cause of that.
Yes.
The audience will find interesting. Let's see what else I wrote a bunch of notes. I was ready last week.
And
Messages have to be
I have the
personalized.
recording, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They talked about how messages have to be personalized, you know, like they give a personal story.
Yes.
It has to be concrete, credible. They play on your emotions,
Correct.
which is interesting. And telling a personal story, you know, like story,
Yes.
what is it? Facts tell, stories sell. So that
I
was one of the things I got out of it.
I love what you're saying, Charles, because it makes sense. And I'll
Yeah,
tell when you finish, remind me. I'm going to tell you, the group that's here, outside of the recording area, exactly how I do it. And because I learned from a very good expert. Go ahead. Keep going.
the other thing was the curse of knowledge. So it was saying that like I'm very guilty. This was one of the main things. I tend to think things out in my head, like from playing chess. I try to be like 5 to 10 moves ahead.
Yes.
So a lot
I
of
love
times,
that.
if you're not keeping up with me, I'm kind of like way ahead of you, and I have to go back and rethink what I should have done first. So
Very good.
sometimes that leads to a mistake. But anyway, they were saying you can tap out happy birthday. So I'm tapping to
Da, 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 da. Dum, dum.
Right. But most people, if I hadn't told you it was happy birthday, they say only 1 out of 10 would get it.
Wow.
So I
That's-
thought that was interesting. Even though
that
in
is
my
interesting.
mind, I'm thinking that at least 50% of the people should be able to understand I was tapping out happy birthday. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I guess we're a little slow.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're actually not.
It's fine.
It's the curse of knowledge. So a
So-
lot of things we engage in, we think people should understand it, but really we have the knowledge about it. Therefore, the other people they don't know what's going on in your head about that situation. You just figure like, well, it's just like math. I'm not going to say the person on the they're dealing with math problems. The one person knows the math very well, and they believe it's just simple. Like, they say, 1 + 1 is what?
2.
Plus
In
3.
well,
That's what the
whatever.
other person.
Yes, that's right. That's the
That's
answer
me,
the
math.
child
Don't talk
gave.
about math.
The child
Huh?
gave. That was the child that gave that answer, right? The son of the person asking the question. I believe that's what it was. But
Yeah, so
yeah,
it was some interesting, points that I had gotten out of this, with the 6 simple, or the like, make it understandable, make it memorable, and make a lasting impact. That's the last thing I'm gonna talk about. So make it understandable. So like my notes are not understandable to me right now for some reason, but make it memorable. You remember the minivan, how you're supposed to buckle up and have a long lasting impact, which the book will have, as far as your emotional ties, the concrete information, the credibility, even the McDonald's thing will stick out in your mind, or the subway. You'll remember
yes.
that because it's memorable. But those are some of the things I picked up.
Well, thank you,
Now,
Charles.
what were you going to remind us of?
That's perfect what you just said there, because it goes right in hand with what I'm going to talk about very quickly here. In reference to knowledge, reading. When we first started doing these audio books, I had a tough time listening. I had to write everything down. I couldn't remember. The reading, it can be stressful. At times it seems like it's ineffective, like it gets you nowhere. And I know that some people are not in this group because of that, because they believe that they haven't been able to accomplish the goals that are needed in reference to building that knowledge that we all can benefit from. And as the authors describe it, the brothers Heath, they say that the title Make It Stick is not about rereading and memorizing every detail. It's about picking specific details or specific events in order to quantify on that. If you know, the best experts in the world are not experts in every single field. There are exceptions. They're expert in a specific detail. For example, tying their shoes. For example, managing billions of dollars, not millions. They know how to manage billions of dollars. Another expertise is managing 50 people or managing 1,000 people, managing 10 corporations or managing 1 corporation. You need to be specific on reaching a specific goal and not getting stressed out that you're going to have to know everything at the beginning. You have to start somewhere, and look where we all are. And I know that it's not easy being here, and I know that it requires commitment. But the best thing is that when we talk about accountability, we've used it wrong in general. Accountability meaning, oh, did you read this? Oh, what'd you think? Those are the wrong questions. We need to quiz each other in the proper format. And in this group so far, it's not about quizzing, it's about who has a summary that depicts what we just read. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to have an impact on each and every one of us. And each and every one of you has impacted your summary. I mean, and it's like, wow, Gina's applying it in school. Wow, Charles just gave a lead into what I was going to say. And Martha said about the lost weight, and Reggie said a powerful message. And that's what this is about. That's how we quiz each other and how we challenge each other. Most accountability groups are just about asking the wrong questions, right? But he also says about rereading. I like, at times I need to reread because I didn't understand this book. I needed to reread it, but I listened to it at 1.5 times the speed, maybe even a little faster, because this was a computer generated reading, and when that happens, it's a little bit tougher to swallow. And I don't know if you had the same challenge that I had, but that's what happens to me. But how do you go about and survive this? And that's what I have. I wrote something down here, and I'm not gonna say it all, but it says here, you should strive to climb to the top of Bloom's cognitive learning taxonomy pyramid. There are 6 words. Remember. Try to remember what you can. Don't remember everything. Let something stick and don't worry about the rest, because you're not going to become an expert of a book. You're going to become an expert of what you're meant to find in each and every book. Does that make sense? Yes, I hope it does. Understand.
Yes.
Understand whatever it is that you're remembering, it's for you. It was meant for you. Apply it. If you're not applying it, how are you going to do the first 2 things? Right? Analyze. This is how you retain information, is if you apply and you analyze, and then after you apply and analyze, you evaluate. Plain and simple. You evaluate the situation. Is it true? Is it for me? Is it for somebody else? Where else can I use this? Can I use this in my life? Can I use this in somebody else's life? This is how you create. That's the final word. After you've asked these questions, you have to quiz yourself on knowledge. And this is the biggest marketing piece that make it stick got to me, is that our knowledge is not necessarily saying, oh, I read 10 books. It's about what are you retaining from each of the books? Not every piece of information. It's just what story is meant to catch your eye. Martha started out in one corner, Reggie went to another, Gina went to another, and Charles and I are summing it up with the knowledge piece. Knowledge is potential power, but we need to quiz each other, and we're doing it here with these reviews. Just learn one thing. The rest will come about. I have a marketing, a video, educational video on teaching people how to invest. I haven't put it out yet. Why? I'm not ready. I could put it out. People are rushing me to put it out. I'm not ready. I'm getting ready as of tomorrow to research on how I can build a website that can market this information for me, so that website, all it does is sell that information. Crazy? Yes, it could be crazy, but I have to remember what I learned. I have to understand it. I have to apply it, analyze it, evaluate it. Who is it for? And how do I create this system that's going to leave me millions and millions and millions of dollars?
Don't forget, get their attention.
Get their attention is very important. Yes. Yeah. And so that's it for the marketing mastermind class on Make It Stick. Next week, we're going to review another book, another powerful book. And I just wanted to let you know that a lot of these books, you're not going to retain each and every information, but try and learn one thing. I mean, is it that crazy that sometimes we're not going to catch everything? That's all. So this is the Mastermind Book Club signing off. Thank you, Charles, Reggie, Martha, Gina, David, and David. Until next.